Welcome to part 2 of our 2022 Mets regular season grades. Now it's time for the second part of position players. Let's go.
On 3-2, Bader. Swings and misses, strike 3. He struck him out. 5 Met pitchers combined for the second no-hitter in New York Mets history.
Now, just like yesterday's video, we have the second part of position players. All of these players are still with the organization, so players like J.D. Davis and Colin Holderman are not included.
We're back for another group of Mets that play the infield, the outfield, and some that play baseball very well. Some people play with their eyes closed, and some people just need to jump off a boat.
That's a very respectable way of saying it. So let's get to the grades. Let's start it off with the second baseman himself, the utility man, Jeff McNeil.
Guy you bashed so much in the offseason and shut you up very quickly.
You bashed him too. Don't even start.
I totally did not ever wanted him traded at all. At no point did I ever wanted Jeff McNeil off this team. I give him an A. He's in the race for a batting title, and that's what he's going to be, and that's his most productive form. Is it going to be interesting how he responds to the shift being banned next year? That's going to be very interesting to see what he does, because that's really all his gimmick is I beat the shift, playing all over the field and giving Buck the versatility, especially when we're losing a Starling Marte or Canha went down. He was able to move everywhere if need be. Good response, and made you look pretty dumb.
Yeah, just me. That's just me looking dumb. Absolutely. Shh, we'll play that role for you. Well, I gave Jeff McNeil an A+ because I don't really have many complaints. And when you don't really have many complaints, perfect grade. Went back to the old vintage Jeff McNeil, and he has made me look like a complete idiot. He went back to a form that I just did not see him possibly going back to, and he definitely has. He's been a huge part of this offense all year. Easily some of the best bat-to-ball skills I've probably ever seen in my entire time watching baseball. I'm really hoping that he can keep it up into the postseason and hopefully maybe as a future piece on this Mets team. Now we get to another man who plays multiple positions just on the infield, but mainly second base. Luis Guillorme.
Guillorme, again, a meme that 95% of our fan base enjoys. The other 5% realize he's just not that good of a ball player. He's very good defensively. He's very good. He's elite defensively. He's probably going to win that brand new utility gold glove. But after that month, that rare Eduardo Escobar month of him actually knowing how to hit a baseball, that went away very quick. But again, he's a wizard with the glove. What he is. He's not a good bat. I would ship him out of here for an actual good bat in a heartbeat. But, people like memes. He shaves the beard goes. He caught another bat from Francisco Alvarez. So, all the memes lovers, he's just not that good of an offensive player. Elite defense.
All right, here's where you're really fucking stupid. Everyone expects Luis Guillorme to be a starting caliber player, and that's what they evaluate him as. He comes off the bench, and he plays his role as he's supposed to. I look at him as the role that he's supposed to play on this team. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But he provides a lot of value to this roster of someone who can come off the bench and you can plug into any role. As for his bat, it's not that good, but he definitely provides value with it. He's able to get on base, able to hit against the shift, and that's what he's there to do. There's a reason why he's not an everyday player. The main reason why we give him the expectation of an everyday player is because the other options were not producing. And that's why I was not surprised when the production went down offensively and him as an overall player. He is someone who comes off the bench. That's where his value is, and that's how he should be evaluated. He's not a superstar player. He's not an all-star caliber player. He's Luis Guillorme, plays his role. He's the Tim Tuffle of this team. And that's how I've seen him the entire time. Everyone's got to stop making fantasies of when he has a hot stretch that he should be an everyday player and an all-star caliber player. He plays his role, and that's why I like him.
You prove my point, but then if you look at the other good teams in baseball, he's supposed to be our Chris Taylor, and Chris Taylor's an all-star who can actually hit the ball, lift the ball. He is nothing
close to Chris
Yes,
Taylor.
he literally plays everywhere.
He does not play everywhere. He plays two positions.
Two
or three. That's it.
Okay, so how is he a utility player if he can't play the outfield? He's just not that good.
He's a utility infielder. That's what he is.
The dude is just a
Jeff
glove.
McNeil plays the outfield and the infield. Wow. And he's a starting caliber player.
And an all-star.
Insane? What a crazy concept, people. Wow. Y'all put way too many expectations on someone who is a role player not a star player. Enough already. He is what he is, and he plays his role correctly. Jesus Christ, I'm so tired of this. Now let's go to purely the outfield in Mark Canha.
What are you talking about? He played third base that one time.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Eat shit. What do you got before I punch you through this screen?
I gave him a B minus. Been productive. He's been a productive player, solid complimentary piece. Getting older, which is a concern about, but especially getting drilled as much as he is, we'll see.
I gave Canha a B plus. Pretty much been the same productive player that he was in the first half and in the second half. Great high leverage player. He comes up big when we need him to. He always puts up the quality AB. I just ask everyone to please stop hitting this man because I just don't want him to get hurt. Dodged a lot of bullets. Our team gets a hit a lot, but please stop hitting Mark Canha. He's a great hitter. He's a great all-around player. Doesn't play it at the high volume, but he's a solid all-around player, has a lot of versatility, and provides a lot of value. And now that brings us to one of our top prospects in Mark Vientos. He was called up in the middle of September. He's gotten his ABs as a DH, kind of being a part-time player.
Well, as you all know, I am a narrative pusher and I don't watch the games, so I have to give him a lower grade than Brett Beatty. So he gets a D. Kind of like Beatty, he's had some good ABs where it's just like the same thing. He hasn't been overmatched to an extent. He's a strikeout. It's what the biggest problem we both told. Well, he told you a lot longer than I did. The strikeout problem is going to be an issue. As a bat and giving you new defensive value, should have been traded.
He really has not looked overmatched to major league pitching. Can't really hit a breaking ball. That kind of sucks. So there's going to be a lot of exploiting against him in his major league career until he figures that out. Doesn't provide any defensive value. Again, like you said, I would have loved to trade him. Type of piece to trade for an actual legitimate DH that can kill lefties and righties, but that time has passed. I still don't think that he's 100% major league ready. Still seeing a lot of problems that I expected that he would have when he comes up to the major leagues, but it's a small sample. I'm not going to full on judge him. I still like the potential of this guy, but he's definitely got a lot of holes in his game. Maybe eventually he becomes one of the late blooming JD Martinez, but as for right now, he definitely has a long way to go. I gave him a D plus. I still need to see more, and hopefully that we do see more next year, the year after that. He hasn't played that much, but we have definitely seen a glimpse of what he can do at the major league level. Michael Perez, currently in AAA right now. We acquired him for cash considerations from the Pirates.
He threw a few guys out, which was good to see against the Phillies. He also had a big, I think, 2-run single against the Phillies, but that's it. I give him a D. Again, he's a depth catcher. It's what he is. He's better than Patrick Mazeika, but that's just not saying much. Just an average or below average, just serviceable one-game stopgap catcher.
I went neutral since we didn't really see much from this guy. I just went with a C. I do like this guy's swing. I think that he's definitely got a good launch angle behind him, especially compared to our other catchers, but we haven't really seen much, not much to really evaluate him. I give him neutral. Now let's get to our big bopper, the first baseman, number 20. Pete Alonso. We definitely put a lot of pressure on him this year to be one of the main sources of offense. He's definitely been that. So what do you got?
It's an A+. I mean, this guy is sneaking into the MVP conversation. And I'll say something I wasn't going to say for a while. I would see in the offseason if he wants to sign that kind of Matt Olson extension, if he wants, but we'll see. Obviously, there's plenty of other money the Mets have to spend elsewhere, but, obviously he's been productive and he's been the best player on this team this year.
He's had his rough patches throughout the season, but he's definitely fixed them up to sustain a great year overall. He's been the main source of offense like we expected him to be, and we wanted him to be, and he has been that. Driving in runs, hitting 40 bombs. I mean, that's definitely what we expected. He's had an MVP caliber type of season. But when Pete Alonso struggles, the rest of this team struggles. And it definitely makes you a little bit concerned with how much they actually rely on Pete Alonso. As for him and Francisco Lindor, they've been the main tandem at 3 and 4 in our lineup all year. And it's definitely been the production that we've been expecting from our big boppers. I gave him an A+ as well. It's been frustrating sometimes, but he's definitely been able to get right back on that horse. He's a sustained power hitter. He's one of the best in the league at that, and he has definitely grown as a player ever since his rookie year. He may not be the smartest guy here, but we all know that he's not here for his brains.
Pay him, obviously, to hit all of the fattest nukes, and again, he has got that 99 fridge protector, just like Dan Vogelbach. Me and him, Fogey, we be just smashing down some great food.
And that brings us to a position player that we are missing in the lineup right now. Desperately need him in the 2-hole. Desperately need him back. Hopefully we can get him back for the playoffs. Starling Marte. One of the big signings in this offseason, one of the big additions. How do you feel about Starling Marte this year?
Most expensive bet they went out and got today. Defensively, he's been solid. He's stolen bases, but hasn't been what we expected. Obviously, coming off leading the American League in steals, but it's still an amazing base runner, and we just missed that. The ability of obviously having to play a certain player. We'll get to later in the video every day. It seems like against righties, we can get him back for the wild card because that's what we're going to be playing in.
Starling's a huge piece to this team, and we need him back. I really wish that Mitch Keller did not plunk him, and I can say unspeakable things about Mitch Keller, but we might get full-on taken down if I did so. Once we signed him, I loved the signing, but all I can say is that there was a concern about health with the fully $78 million guaranteed. And, we're starting to see that. He's had a few dust ups, but he's been lucky for the most part to stay healthy for a majority of the season. And we really haven't seen the effect of without him in the lineup. Now we are, and we desperately need him back. Overall, he's had a great season. Do I think that this production will carry on into the next 3 years of this contract? Probably not, but he's definitely a huge key piece to this lineup. That gets us to the second to last position player in Tomas Nido, the backup catcher that was not supposed to be the starting catcher, but ended up being the starting catcher because the original starting catcher sucks absolute whale. How do you feel about a guy who shouldn't be starting every day, but has to and pick up the slack of that fat slob?
So he's been decent offensively lately, and obviously he's one of the best framers in the league. I'm just sick and tired of looking at him. Like, he's been here for seems like 10 years, and finally this month and a half stretch he's actually hitting the baseball because we all thought he swung with his eyes closed, and he's just like going up there, whoop, let's go up and swing, or whatever the hell his pitcher's throwing. I'm still first trip. I'm getting rid of everyone in the catching position besides Chungus. Non-tender, I need somebody new.
I also gave him a C. He's definitely been overall like a somewhat average player for us all season. Again, he's not supposed to be the starting catcher, but the other catcher just wanted to suck absolute for 2 years. He's an elite defensive catcher, and that's what he's there to do, and that's the ideal backup catcher that you have. But as for him, he actually provides value to this roster compared to the other catcher. We now get to our final position player, considered our fourth outfielder at the time when he was acquired, Tyler Naquin.
I know his role is the fourth outfielder. We said in the last player swings with his eyes closed. So does Tyler Naquin, and usually he doesn't make any contact. At least Nido grounds out. Like, at least he puts the ball in play. This dude is 3 pitches, 3 swings, goodbye. I liked the acquisition. He had a really good, I like Vogelbach, had a very good first 2.5 weeks as a Met and has done nothing else. I like the idea of adding some outfield depth at the deadline because obviously the Plum Dog and Khalil Lee are not major league options. So I liked the idea of them going out and getting a big league depth fourth outfielder, especially as some of the guys who were on the market and who we were surprised to get traded. He was not the right guy to go get.
I went with a D. I like him as a player. I think the tools that he provides are definitely valuable to this roster and definitely in the state of a fourth outfielder compared to the Khalil Lees and the Travis Jankowskis and the Ender Inciartes that we had on this roster throughout the season. It's definitely someone that you really just can't view as a starting player, and you can't evaluate him as a starting player because that's just not the value that he's going to provide day in and day out as an everyday player. It sucks because we've had an injury to Starling Marte, and he's had to take over the duties out in right field for a majority of that time. But I will say that I am open to bringing him back next year. I know he's a pending free agent, but if he wants to come back on a 1-year deal, sure. I like him coming off the bench a lot more compared to a lot of the fourth outfielder options that we've had in these last 10, 12, 20, 30 years.
We're going to bring back outfielders that strike out a ton, play average defense, and provide power for a fourth outfielder. Probably looking for a cheap deal because obviously, he gets into a bar fight, loses his whole career because, Scott Boras wants, gets into a fight with Boras in a bar, crazy stuff happens. We can bring Mike Conforto back as a fourth outfielder. I don't want him back. So, if it's between Tyler Naquin and Michael Conforto, you can bring Conforto back. You don't got to bring Tyler Naquin back. Or, you can go out and sign an actual good player as a fourth outfielder. Just a thought.